We are on page 10. And yesterday, let's just remind ourselves what we did yesterday. Thank you very much. Yesterday, in 4.1a, we did ionic compounds. Yes, that was yesterday. So yesterday, ionic compounds. How did we know that it was an ionic compound? What is an ionic compound made of? It's made of ions. What types of elements? Metal plus nonmetal. That was yesterday. Today, we're going to be doing covalent compounds, which are also known as molecular compounds. These two words are the same compounds. Okay, a molecular compound is a covalent compound. And they are made of nonmetal plus nonmetal. So instead of having a metal and a nonmetal, we have nonmetal and nonmetal. Yesterday, did we use prefixes? Did I say lithium monohydride? Did I do that yesterday? Did you do that yesterday? No. When we have ionic compounds, no prefixes. Okay? Ionic, no prefixes. So yesterday, ionic compounds, metal plus nonmetal, no prefixes. Today, we're doing covalent compounds, nonmetal plus nonmetal, and for these ones, yes, prefixes. And you have started memorizing those prefixes, okay? Maybe some of you have already got it, some of you are working on it. You're going to get there because we'll do a lot of practice, okay? Now, just before we get on to learning how to use those prefixes, let's remind ourselves, a binary compound, can you guess how many elements make up a binary compound? 2, because bi, the prefix bi means 2. And covalent bonds form when elements do what with their electrons? If we have a covalent bond, what's happening with those electrons? They're sharing their electrons. So here we have a covalent compound. Hydrogen has 1 electron. How many does it want to have? Shell number 1 is full when we have how many electrons? That one eats pencils. If you would like another pencil sharp, did it work? Okay. How many electrons makes a full shell number 1? 2 electrons. So hydrogen only has 1 electron, but how many would it like? 2. Oxygen has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 valence electrons on its outer shell. How many fills up the second shell? 8. So oxygen has 6, but it wants to have 8. So what happens is that hydrogen and oxygen will share with each other. And you can see here we've got 1 from oxygen and 1 from hydrogen. Okay, we've got 1 from hydrogen and one from oxygen. And that gives hydrogen 2 electrons. It gives this hydrogen 2 electrons. And if we count up oxygen's electrons, we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So that is how a covalent compound forms. They share electrons to get a full shell of 8 electrons, or 2 for hydrogen. Why do they do that? Because it is very stable. That is a very stable arrangement of electrons. Between what types of elements do covalent bonds form? Nonmetal and nonmetal. And did you notice? Non, they both have prefixes. When you have a nonmetal and a nonmetal, you're going to use the prefixes, the mono, di, tri, tetra, etc. Yes? When elements bond covalently, they mostly form, what do we call those little clusters of atoms that are bonded covalently? Molecules. Okay? There are 2 names for compounds that are made only of non-metals. What are those 2 names? Covalent compounds. And the other name is? Yeah, we're just going to write molecular compounds because binary just refers to the number of atoms. Molecular compounds. Just a reminder, when atoms in a molecule are all the same, like in H2 and O2, we say we have a molecule of an element, yes. And really, we are not going to be focusing on naming elements because when you name an element, you just give it its name. If you have H2, it's just called hydrogen. If you have O2, it's just called oxygen. But when we have different types of elements in a molecule, we don't have a molecule of an element, we have a molecule of a compound. So, nitrogen monoxide is a compound. Water is a compound. Nitrogen dioxide is a compound. Carbon dioxide is a compound. Okay. Super similar to before. When we were naming ionic compounds, and remember, ionic is what kind of elements? Metal plus non-metal. And I'm going to put the metal first because the metal always comes first in the formula, okay? So that's a metal plus a non-metal. And we just name the metal. So Ca is named calcium. And then what did we do to the ending of the second name? Ending of the second name changed to ide. Okay, so we got that ide at the end. Okay, here is another ionic compound. How do I know that it is ionic? Calcium is what type of element is calcium? Metal or non-metal? Calcium is a metal. What kind of element is copper? Copper is a metal. And remember, when we have a metal, it's going to be with a nonmetal. And will we use any prefixes? No prefixes. Okay? So when it is ionic, no prefixes. And we know it's ionic because it starts with a metal. But all of a sudden, we've got a nonmetal and a nonmetal. Nonmetal, nonmetal. And as soon as we have a nonmetal and a nonmetal, it is covalent, and we will use prefixes. How many carbons are in CO2? Just one, because if there's no number, it's just one, right? So there's no prefix here. And we'll talk more about one because one is a little bit funny, okay? We leave off the prefix mono on the first word. Okay, that's a little preview for you. We leave off mono on the first word. Leave off mono on the first word. There's one carbon, so normally we would say monocarbon, but because that word comes first, we leave off the mono. That's one of those stupid little exceptions that's irritating. Okay, so I'm going to keep repeating it over and over. All right? Now, on our second word, how many oxygens do we have? We have 2 oxygens. What is the prefix for 2? Di. So that 2 tells us that it is dioxide. All right? And the ending, what do you notice about the ending? The ending of the second word still changed to ide. Okay? In our next compound, we have P2. What is the prefix for 2? Di. So we put the di phosphorus. Don't leave off di. Don't leave off anything on that first word except for, who do we leave off on the first word? Mono. Just mono. But if it's a di, you put it on. If it's a tri, you put it on. If it's hexa, put it on the first word. Everything goes on the first word except mono. What goes on the first word? Everything except mono. And what goes on the second word? Everything. Okay, second word doesn't lose any prefixes. What is the prefix for 6? Hexa. So we write hexa, and then our ending changes to ide. Does the ending of the first word change? Do we get an ide on the first word? No. Okay, so just like when we were naming ionic compounds, we do not change the ending of the first word. We just change the ending of the second word to ide. Okay, so let's try a few of these. We've got an ionic compound. How do I know it's ionic? I know because K is a metal. If it is ionic, do we use prefixes? Yes prefixes or no prefixes? No prefixes. Because it's got a metal, it is ionic, therefore there's no prefixes. So we just name K potassium, and we ignore that little number 3 because we don't need prefixes, and then N is nitrogen, which becomes nitride. Second one, Fe is a metal. So this is now, we know it's ionic. And if it's ionic, do we use a prefix? No. No prefix. And don't worry about this little Roman numeral 2. We'll learn how to do those later. Okay, this is iron 2 oxide. All right, that's a Roman numeral 2, and we will learn about those later. Is P a metal or is P a non-metal? P is a non-metal. And if P is a non-metal, that means we have a covalent compound. So we say, how many phosphorus do we have? We have 1 phosphorus. Should I write monophosphorus for that first word? No. No mono. And then we have 3 chlorides. So that's going to be trichloride. Okay. In our next one, we have 2 nitrogen. And nitrogen is a non-metal. So that's going to be dinitrogen. 4 oxygen, tetroxide. Ooh. What's the prefix for 4? Tetra. What do you notice happened here? There's no A. This will only lose you a half a mark. Okay? Drop O and A in front of oxide. And oxygen. And that's it. Okay? It's not drop it in front of every vowel. Okay? It's not, don't drop it in front of iodide. Okay? Just oxide, just oxygen. And don't drop the letter I. It's only O and A. So if you had trioxide, you just write it as trioxide because that's not an O or an A. You do not drop it. Okay? If you had tetraiodide, that would be correct because we don't drop the A in front of iodide, only in front of oxide or oxygen. So this is mostly really easy as long as you know your prefixes, except for remembering mono only goes on the second word. We leave it off the first word, and you need to drop O's and A's in front of oxide. Okay? Other than that, pretty straightforward. Okay? So you can see here, there's just a bunch more examples. 1 silicon, no mono on the first word. So you see nothing there. 1 carbon at the front, no prefix on the first word. 1 iodine, no prefix on the iodine. But let's look at carbon dioxide here. We also have 1 oxygen atom, and that's our second atom. 1 oxygen atom. So we do write mono, but not monoxide. No. Do you guys feel like you'd be ready to practice some of these? Okay. Feel free to look at the rest of the examples. Just ignore all of this question 1, question 2. Just ignore question 4. So there's the rules. First element is named first, just use the elements named. Second element is named second, change the ending to "ide." The prefixes tell you the number of atoms. Mono is not on the first element. but is used on the second element, and drop the O and the A before oxygen and oxide. So the rules are listed there on page 13. The chart is there on page 13. And you could now try page 14. If at the end of that you feel you know your prefixes well enough to write quiz 2, you can write quiz 2. If you feel like you need more time to learn those prefixes, you can try, just take a quick look, just turn very quickly to page 16. Okay, everyone just turn very quickly to page 16. Some of these compounds, yes, sure. Some of these compounds are molecular or covalent. Some of them are ionic. So what you're going to do is you're going to remember, how do I tell if it is molecular covalent? That's going to be a non-metal plus a non-metal. And if it's a non plus a non, use prefixes. And you can either label it M for molecular, or you can label it C for covalent. So if you have non plus non, you're going to label it either C or M, and you're going to use prefixes. If it is ionic, that's a metal plus a non-metal. No prefix. So this is page 16 is a mix. So page 14. These are all covalent. So they will all need prefixes. Page 16, there are some covalent and some ionic. So you will have some that have prefixes and some that have no prefixes. All right, and if you feel ready to write quiz 2 today, you can do so, or you can write it tomorrow. If you feel ready to write quiz 3, which is the mixture of covalent and ionic today, you can do it today, or you can do it tomorrow. So the goal is for you to be ready to write quizzes 2 and 3 by tomorrow, okay? Plus this little memorizing one, okay? Because we're going to keep doing that till the end of the week, just to make sure everybody knows their prefixes inside, outside, and backwards, okay? Yes, you sure can. This time I write. See, I actually pay attention. All right, so start with page 14. Okay. Start with page 14 first. Start with page 14 first. Okay. So these ones will all have okay. And you don't have to do every single question. I would say maybe the first 10 to see how you feel about it, and then if you feel good, so for this one, so this one, you would say I have. These are all so good, so they're all going to be used. I'll be right back. We have one silicon, but we don't put a model in the first word, so it's just going to be silicon. Side is silicon. And then we have chloride. Okay, but we need to do this 4 of them. And actually, if you open your chloride, nice thing is right here. So you also have to so we're all yeah, so great. All right. Yeah, they just ignore was the I one, we just name. Yes. This is number 2. So you go 2. No, 1 was for Ionic. 1 already. No, whatever 2 is for core. Yeah. And then 3 is integration. You don't have to be okay. 6 buffers. That almost. Okay.
Wait, I can create 8.
I think we will. But one of the things is then, so I think.
Where's the other?
No. Yeah. Hold on. Let's go find and see if the other product is too big. I probably won't. Let's do it. That would be all. I am saying about this. So, all right. Although we weren't from a property, how many too big. And so what it is when you go actually no. Sorry, I think there were some things in the QA file. Just QA is next. And then we have four fluorides. So what's the credit for? No, you didn't do that. These are non-open. So they are open. So that I do not want that. Thank you for catching that. Okay, so I'm really ready. Now, if one, the first one, you don't. But if it's on second.
Yeah.
All right, and then I can do quiz 3, which is
Yeah, I know. I caught you. I caught myself and about you.
Okay, we'll start with S is it always has I. So she makes it.
For this, you added,
Yes. You're always on that the second word is folding.
so this one has, this,
Yeah. Okay, so it's gonna be divided. Now we have one row. Don't be small.
every time on the second word, it's like,
One is here. Oh, folks. I just wanted to point out, please try not to have capital letters in the middle of your word. So if you have, for example, number 2 here, di, not nitrogen like this, but just di-nitrogen. If you want to, you can use all lowercase letters all the time, and then you don't have to worry. You don't have to be like, do I capitalize? Don't I capitalize? You can just call this di-nitrogen. Okay? So no capital letters in the middle of the word if you can avoid it. Okay? And check your answer for number 3. Hydrogen, no mono. Mono, bromide. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Go for it. Okie dokie. Yep. Very good.
so,
Yes. And yeah. Yeah. You got it. Hello. And then you have one, so you have to figure out which ones are which. Yeah. Sorry.
Right there, you said, it's like, you don't have to put the N on that. Did they say that? You were like,
Okay, so these ones are covalent, right? When they're covalent, we will use the prefix. Okay, but mono we don't use on the first word. So we have one silicon. Okay. Well, we got like 5 minutes to wait for lunch. So we got silicon, and then we have four is. Tetra. Yeah, you know, right, tetra. As part of this word, you're gonna write fluoride. Okay. Like, is that how do you spell? You go, yeah. Okay. So. This one. So dinitrogen. You have 2 nitrogen dinitrogen. And that would be sulfur. And sulfur, yeah. Well. Right. With sulfur. Sulfide. Yeah. Okay. So this is I can't pull back to student mind and never really oh wait, there's like 6. Let's say we have 1 and 2. One no, you don't need to calculate your own thing. All right, so sorry. They got bromide, and there was one of them. Oh well, obviously, I think this one just a little thing. The first word die. Don't use one. You only have 1 time. On the second word, drink is one. So. I don't do that. Okay. Yeah. I'll say this. Yeah. All right. So look at this. So for it, every rock we can on the cross side. Wait, so we just have oh, okay, so side. Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah, it's shocking how much difference it makes.
That was it.
Oh, right. And it's like,
Wait. I'll see how I get for all this.
I know how to drive, how to like set it up together. Oh, yeah. Oh. No, sorry, yes. I'm coming right now, give me a little second.
Just be ready this one next day.
I was calling something to. Oh, then that way, yeah, help with everything.
No, and that's okay, you're going to this one.
Oh, okay, yeah, perfect. Sorry, I was calling different things, was too, I made it. So, what was?
Oh, that's good.
Well, we're 14 at 16. You're back. Okay, how are you doing? We're the chat line. Okay. So I'm gonna just give you some time, like to sort your your body, your hand out, all of that stuff, your sleep schedule, and then when you're ready, let me know. I'm available. Yeah. I need some last
Yeah, but I don't know how, bro. You didn't last. I still know. I still know.
Oh,
I didn't
do you want to film it?
I didn't go.
Okay.
I was great.
Okay.
I don't think with your 87. Yeah, really fucking cold terminal. You can do cold terminal that one. Is he there? That's why you want to think about it. Are you kidding? You go. Wrong. What do you want? Have no problem. You go like this, there's your. Have no father. No fight. Wait, it's not.
Hi.
I have one question.
Yes.
Okay, so the first one was this one. I know we worked on this, but
Mhm.
then here, what if they don't give you the math?
You'll just use that mass right there. 85.
85?
Yeah.
This one. Okay. This one.
I've seen this. I've seen that video.
Oh, this one. Here. Could you explain this real quick?
This one?
Yeah.
Just if you have 5 fluorines, the only thing you can do is attach them to the phosphorus, right? So now phosphorus has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 electrons. But because it is in row 3 or lower, its outer shell is big enough that if you want to stuff extra electrons into it, you can.
Oh,
It doesn't usually do that, but if you have to, if you're like, where else am I going to put those fluorines? You can shove that one on there.
oh, okay. And then
Just
for
like when
the-
we had those extra electron, the lone pair that we had to put on,
Yeah.
you can put those on the central atom as long as it's in row 3 or lower on the periodic table.
3 or lower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it? Yeah? Good stuff.
I like that.